Detectives are working around the clock to stop the gun violence really plaguing parts of our city, and they are not hitting the front lines alone. Listen.
This was a perfect production of how we co-police and change the ecosystem of policing. We were out there co-producing public safety, community groups. You'll hear from clergy, law enforcement out there.
It is a team effort indeed. Community members and clergy joining in the fight to stop these shootings. Joining me this morning is the NYPD's Chief of Detectives, Rodney Harrison. Good morning to you, Chief Harrison. How you doing?
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here on this important morning. So, Chief Harrison, you know, your detectives, I want to highlight this first and foremost for folks out there, made an arrest in connection with the Juve shooting that injured a 6-year-old child. Can you share information about the suspect this morning?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. If I could just really quickly paint the picture for you. A little bit after 2:30 in the morning, an individual who has had a troubled past pulls out a firearm. Right now we have it as a .40 caliber, starts shooting into the crowd and flees the scene. I got to compliment the great work from our gun violence people. That instead of going right to the scene, they conducted a canvass, stop our individual, and we're able to recover the firearm and bring him into custody. But we still weren't sure if he was involved with the shooting, so a lot of work still had to be done. The members from the 7-1 Detective Squad were able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. We were able to expedite the forensic investigation with the gun, and we were able to match it to the ballistics that was recovered from the scene, as well as from some of our victims. As you're well aware of, our 6-year-old was shot in the right arm, in the right leg.
Yeah.
And his mother was shot in the right foot as well. So it was a concerning crime scene. But we were able to put the pieces of the puzzle together, match everything up, and we were able to charge him for the attempted murder of the 5 individuals. So
and that is
great work all around.
Great work indeed. That is just one of the many puzzles you have to put together overall, because there is a lot going on in the streets of New York City. Detectives busy over the past 24 hours. There were 3 people killed at the Queensbridge houses, Bed-Stuy, Far Rockaway. That case of that fatal shooting in Bed-Stuy happened, by the way, in broad daylight, which wasn't too far from the Juve shooting. Any leads in any of these cases you can talk about this morning?
No, it's still in preliminary part of the investigation. You know, it takes, unfortunately, some time to cultivate witnesses, get videos together to kind of paint the picture for us.
Yep.
But once again, I have a lot of faith, and I'm extremely optimistic that we'll identify our perpetrators and bring them into custody.
You know, I want to talk about this record number of guns that have been taken off the streets. It is a 25-year high in terms of getting guns off the street. We haven't seen numbers like this since 1995. Even after the anti-crime unit was disbanded, though, Brooklyn seems to be the hotspot here. Is there any indication if any of the gun violence, specifically in Brooklyn, is gang-related? What's driving these numbers here?
Yeah, so first thing is I'm concerned. The comfort of individuals to carry guns is alarming. But I will say this, even though we disbanded our anti-crime team, our police officers are doing great work. Foster Patrol's people from patrol are out there doing a great job of getting the guns off some of our individuals that feel comfortable enough to carry guns. The Detective Bureau, my people are unbelievable. Tom Galati's team of field intelligence officers are out there doing search warrants in some of our problematic locations and recovering guns. So it's a team effort, but we're committed to keeping the city safe. And we're going to need the community's help. We can't do it by ourselves, but in order for us to kind of curb the violence, we got to work together. Stop pointing fingers.
From August 31st to September 6th, there were 160 gun arrests, 436 total for a 28-day period. Those are impressive numbers of getting guns off the street, but it also highlights the number of guns that are out there overall. So what is leading to so many guns on the street? Have they always been there, and we're just seeing it happen more now because of a multitude of issues out there? What are you seeing in terms of why these guns are out there?
Yeah, you know, Dan, I don't know why someone would carry a firearm, and you know, we're doing a lot of work within the Detective Bureau to identify how the guns are coming from different parts of the country, either from down south or even the Mideast. And we've done some pretty successful cases in the last couple of weeks. But I will say this: gang violence is a problem. We have a lot of gang violence retaliation shootings going back and forth, some of the situation that happened during that Monday morning. The most important thing is we have to find a way to work together. These young men and women are carrying these guns, and they're seeing what they'll call their ops or their oppositions, and just firing randomly, and it's concerning. But there's got to be a better way where we could kind of redirect these kids out of these problematic crews, these gangs, and get them into the right direction. So it's not just something that's going to happen overnight, but we'll get down to the bottom of it.
You also, there's been a lot of talk about the disbanding of the anti-crime unit, but that you also then created a new unit, which was the Rapid Response Team. So how helpful is that in de-escalating situations on the streets?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you're aware, Dan, but a lot of the anti-crime officers were moved up to the detective squad, and I think that was a great strategy because these anti-crime cops are the best cops in the police department. And their knowledge of where they're policing is extremely helpful for us to conduct a thorough investigation, identify individuals through either video or get somebody to come forward. So that's been a big help. Regarding our rapid response teams, they're in uniform, out there engaging some of our problematic corners or locations where we've had violence, and the numbers speak for itself. Look at the guns that we've recovered.
Yep.
These numbers are record highs, and we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to grind to get these guns off the street and continue to find ways to keep the city safe.
Chief Harrison, we are out of time. It has been a very busy first year on the job for you, but I appreciate you making the time for us this morning and continuing this conversation. You're welcome back anytime.
Dan, thank you so much for having me.